This is Josh Bycer from GameWisdom.com. Hope you enjoy this critical thought, your daily discussion on game design. And be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and you can pitch future critical thought topics. Alright everybody, before we get started with today's critical thought, I think I've decided I'm going to try and pick up Nihon tonight, and we'll probably make that my next big Let's Break on the channel. Of course, besides Bastion and at some point the Space Chem games. And if you haven't heard the news, be sure to check out our Patreon campaign under GW Bycer, as the first goal is to get a Let's Play of more classic games and a break of Ninja Gaiden Sigma. And I would so love to play that game again. It was one of my favorite action titles. But moving from there, if you haven't checked it out yet, this week's Dissecting Design is now up, looking at kind of the fall of Clockwork Empires. If you have any suggestions for future Dissecting Designs, be sure to let me know. And like I said a few days ago, we're going to try and do these at least once a week, preferably on Mondays. That'll give me the weekends to work and edit the video together. But we're moving away from RPGs we're moving away from action titles to talk about today's critical thought, and that is Gacha design, or Gachapon. Hopefully I didn't butcher that too much. This is based on today's Game Wisdom post, which I will link in the notes below. And Gacha or Gachapon is essentially another monetization tactic, which is very similar to loot box design. And we, of course, talked about loot boxes on earlier critical thought and posts. When it comes to Gacha, this is more akin to vending machines. And just like with the difference between the US and Japan, their vending machines are a bit different than ours. We usually have like very generic toys, very much low quality. I have one like those old, sticky rubber hand things somewhere around here. But when it comes to Japan, what they offer, the different Gachapon toys or machines come in different qualities. So there's a machine that may cost $1 of US equivalent to play. Another one could be $3 or $6 or anything along those lines. And the Gachapon itself, the toys are usually of a higher quality than what we see here. They're printed out or manufactured in terms of sets and series. And of course there's, common toys, rare toys. I'm sure there's like an uber rare or legendary for those of you who've been watching Diablo 3. And their toys are definitely of a higher quality than ours. And that leads into the collectability factor. And if you want these toys yourself, you can either, play the machines, trade with other collectors, or buy the sets in stores, which I'm not sure what the pricing is there. I was trying to find more definitive articles about Gacha and Gachapon, and I really couldn't find much other than people talking about, their favorite Gacha games. But as we know very lately, a really big example of Gacha would be Fire Emblem Heroes, which is Nintendo's latest free-to-play mobile game. And that has certainly been causing a lot of excitement in terms of its design, and of course its monetization model. Now, when it comes to Gacha, the really big example will be this game, Puzzle and Dragons. This is one of the bigger examples over from Japan. And how it works is, it is a match 3 gameplay, as you see on the right, and your party that you can see sort of on that top screen with the monsters is defined by what you find while you're playing the game. And what they did is there are several ways of getting more party members. You can either get lucky with egg drops in the dungeons, so think of this as, loot drops for anyone who's playing ARPG, or you spend premium currency on egg machines. And the egg machines, well, they're pretty much straight up Gacha design. And there's different machines, and certain machines may cost a little bit more to pull, but could give you a chance at a higher quality. And then there's, the basic machine that may just get you, it could be like maybe 50 cents or $1, but will only get you like common varieties of your monsters. And another major part of Gacha design are the limited time events. And from looking at their Wikipedia page, Puzzle and Dragons has a lot of them. They could have like special events where a higher drop chance. They could have limited time dungeons, or even special egg machines that could cost even more, but have an exclusive chance or an exclusive monster to get. And in these types of games, your chance of surviving or making progress is going to be dependent on what monsters you get. And not only that, but what rarities that you get. Because, of course, you can't just have, all the monsters at the same level. There's normal, there's going to be, I think there are highest tiers called divine or something along those lines. And, of course, the higher the tier, the better the stats, better the abilities, and, of course, the harder it is to get. And this is why Gacha is a very popular example for these kinds of party-based games, where you're not just going to need one thing. No, you need at least a group of them. And of course, if they release new characters or updates throughout the year, then now your top tier is no longer top, so you need to go find more. And we repeat, etc., and so on. With Fire Emblem Heroes, picture, there we go. Another thing that they do, and this is another part that is sort of indicative of the free-to-play gacha, is try to incentivize, which I hope I just pronounced that right, my mouth is very dry, to spend the most amount of money. And I know that's not the best picture. It looks like I'm the disembodied gacha man right now. But with that screen, basically what they're saying is the more that you buy at a time, the more orbs or premium currency you'll save. So essentially, it means that instead of buying 5 characters one at a time, it will save you to basically save up and buy 5 heroes at a time. And this is all just standard marketing practices. They want you to commit more money with each purchase so that you become more invested and weighted in the game. And another major part of this kind of gacha design is that it's become common practice in these games to simply, if you don't get a high tier character when you first start, just like with the free-to-play games, you're always going to get free stuff to begin your account. If you don't get those high characters, it's simply easier to delete your account, start over again, and hopefully the free time will earn you something better. And there's been videos and people talking about this with Fire Emblem Heroes, with, I believe the highest tier right now is 5-star. And from what people have been talking about, the game starts off very easy. It's the Fire Emblem Lite, essentially. And then, of course, once you get hooked and invested, the difficulty ramps up dramatically. And that's just at the point where it's time to start spending your orbs and maybe getting those 5-star heroes. And the point of this gacha design, what I talked about in my post, that it's basically monetizing progression. Because it doesn't matter how great you are at the game if you're only using 2-star heroes. Just as if you're only using common characters, you're not going to be able to beat one of the advanced dungeons in Puzzle and Dragons. When I talked about loot box design a few weeks ago, I was talking about the game Orcs Must Die Unchained. And what they did with the monetization model was the only way to upgrade your traps was to basically get those copies of that trap when you open up each loot box. And when you upgrade the trap, it increases its attributes, it makes it do more damage, stuff like that. And the point is, you literally cannot beat those maps by yourself if you don't have high enough traps to compensate for the fact that you're by yourself. Simply, the enemies will just run right past it, they'll shrug off the damage. And this is the same kind of thing we were going to probably see in Fire Emblem Heroes and what's happening in Puzzle and Dragons. There is that money wall that you're going to hit, where either you're going to need to have gotten lucky with those rare characters, or you're going to have to spend money and hope and pray for the best, or you're kind of stuck. And as we were just saying a few seconds ago, this is why it's common to re-roll at the start. Because you don't want to re-roll your whole account once you've already spent $50, $60 on the game. No, you want to do that when your investment is zero. And going back to this difference between loot box and gacha design, when we talk about loot boxes, while they still make use of limited time events, I know Team Fortress has certainly had its Christmas, Halloween, the different number crates as well. they're usually kept at a standard price. I think it was like $2.99 for a key or $1.99 a key, something like that. With Gacha, what they do is they can price the machines at different levels, or they can have different amounts for you to buy. As I mentioned with the Fire Emblem Heroes example, there you go. The orbs, you're technically saving money when you buy more at a time. And that's the whole point. They want all these little incentives so they can do more with the gacha mechanics. Whether it's different machines, limited time machines, or even ways of getting you to spend more money over the course of the period. Maybe a special discount. They could give you a coupon that says maybe this will pay 2 free characters, but if you want the 5, you gotta put the money down. And from what someone was saying, I'm not sure if this is true or not, there is something built into the mechanics that say that if you go a certain period without getting a 5-star hero, the game will basically increase the odds of that happening. Because again, they want to get you hooked. It's why in Vegas with slot machines that you'll see machines that will pay small amounts out, to say, oh, you just won. Now, that must mean the jackpot is only a few more pools away. Now, like I've said previously, I'm not a big fan of these kinds of gambling mechanics, and I'm certainly not a fan of basically monetizing the progression model. We talked about this before with Marvel Puzzle Quest, and when I got hooked on that, and basically this is one of those very annoying debates when the games say that you can play it for free, you can get everything you want. They just don't tell you that it's going to be a colossal pain to the point of absolute frustration to get these characters that you need. And with a game like Fire Emblem Heroes and Puzzle and Dragons, again, there's a lot stacked against the player. You're not just looking for the right rarity. You also need the right monster to fill out your party or the right class in Fire Emblem Heroes. Just with Fire Emblem Heroes, just like with the main games, there is a rock, paper, scissors formula to what units will beat other ones. So let's say you get 5-star heroes, but they're all the same class. And then the game will, then one of the maps, let's say you're fighting their complete counter. Now what are you going to do? Well, you gotta spend and hopefully get some more units. But let's say you get the right character or the right class, but the wrong rarity. Well, now we gotta spend more. And repeat, etc. And we're going to wrap things up in the next few minutes. But the beauty of gacha and loot boxes is that it gives a very easy model for growth and adding more content. Again, every new character, every new rarity tier is another monetization or microtransaction for someone to buy. And if your game is doing well, it's very simple to keep raising up that abstraction layer. With a game like Fire Emblem Heroes, for instance, I heard right now there's like normal and hard difficulty. I'm sure they'll add another difficulty level at some point. And if it keeps doing well, maybe another, and another. And then we'll just add more heroes. And then maybe for a limited time event, there could be a 6-star, very exclusive, limited time character, but you have to spend more to get it. And right now, my mind is just swimming. It's like buzzing with all the different monetization tactics that I can think of that they could apply to Fire Emblem Heroes, and probably some that they've already applied to Puzzle and Dragons. So, to wrap things up, again, when it comes to gacha and loot box design, they are both very similar in their intent. They want to get you to spend money, and progression in some sense of the way, or some measure, is tied to this. Now, for many games, the loot box and the gacha can simply be for aesthetic items. We talked about this with Payday 2 for a time. There's, of course, what we see in Yakuza, Shenmue, stuff like that. And again, in these games, spending money, or virtual money in Shenmue's case, doesn't affect the gameplay. Even with a game like Payday 2 with the legendary skins, yes, they will give you some stat bonuses, but it's not going to replace player skill. But in these free-to-play and heavily abstracted titles, it will replace player skill. Like I said, you cannot, no matter how good you are, beat the harder maps if you're still using common characters or low quality or whatever is in the game. for those of you watching this, what do you think about games like Puzzle and Dragons, Fire Emblem Heroes? And I'm curious, for those of you who have played those games, what do you make of these monetization models? I asked this in the post, but I'm going to throw it over to you guys as well. Can you think of a favorable form of gacha and loot box, while still keeping it tied to game progression? That's a challenge. It's easy to say when it doesn't matter for gameplay, but is there a way to make everybody happy? Or is this just going to be one of those things that is just not going to work for everyone? But anyway, we'll end things here. As always, thank you so much for watching these critical thoughts. Be sure to like and subscribe. Check out our Patreon campaign for that first goal and more. And like I said, be sure to look for some Nihon play, I hope, in the coming days. We're almost done with Bloodborne. I think there's 2 more big episodes left, and then basically a series of small ones, which I will put out all in one day. And then we'll move on to some other stuff. And like I said, if you have any suggestions for any kind of content here on the channel, be it critical thoughts, dissecting design, or games to look at, definitely let me know. But otherwise, I'm Josh Bycer from GameWisdom.com, where we examine the art and science of games. Be sure to check back daily for more great content here and on Game Wisdom. And it's a good time because my voice is about to die on me. So, see you all tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoy it, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And of course, share with your friends. It always helps out. For daily posts on all manner of game design and industry topics, check out game-wisdom.com. To support the site and everything that I do, be sure to check out the Patreon campaign. If we can hit goals, it will mean more content for everyone to enjoy, and I'll be able to support myself and my household. If you want to follow me, you can find me on Twitter at GWBycer for updates throughout the day and random thoughts from me. And lastly, you can find me on Twitch right over there at GWBycer for daily streams most nights around 10 Eastern. Thanks again for watching the video, and be sure to check out more great content coming to the Game Wisdom channel real soon.